Fish it, jerks. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Tonight we have Grant, the Rocket Man himself. We'll get into that a little bit. I love that story though. Real quick before we get started, not a lot of people in yet, but going to give my normal spiel. We don't look at the chat at all the whole first part of this interview. We're just going to be Grant and I are just going to be having a conversation. So if you come in and say hi or you have questions for Grant, save that for the second half. And mods, if you would please just remind people every once in a while, if somebody's asking questions, just remind them that to hold off on the questions to the second half. I don't want anybody to feel ignored. Secondly, it is only Grant tonight. I found that it was better to split up couples. It was better to, interview just one of couples like Grant and Shelby and John and Lisa and Foxanne and Peplin and, all of the couples that we have in the Fish Fam, just one person at a time. So Shelby will be coming up in the future for her own focus on. So, all right, good to go. Hi, Grant.
How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks again for joining me. I appreciate it.
I've been looking forward to this since before you even asked me. So
good. These are always a lot of fun. I love getting to know more about you guys in the Fish Fam, our community. We have an amazing community, and it's just so much fun to get to know more about you guys. So what I do know about you is you live in Florida. You're married, and you run a business with shrimp, mainly shrimp.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you born and raised in Florida? Have you been there your entire life? Or
No, I was born in Hawaii, and then we moved
okay.
here when I was 3 because the public schools in Hawaii are not that well for the poor people, because you have to pay like $80,000 a semester to go to Punahou, and that's where like Obama went to school. If you don't go there, the school system was pretty bad. So my parents moved to Florida for family reasons. My grandpa was having a series of major heart attacks. And so my mom moved to help change his lifestyle, his diet, stuff like that. And the schools were supposedly better in Florida.
Which is something I've never heard. Not that the schools are better in Florida specifically, although that too, but but the fact that Hawaii, I never knew that about the Hawaii public school system. I never knew that. Is it like that still today? Do you know?
I'm not sure so much, but it was just one of those things my parents didn't want me to have to deal with. So I think it was more my grandpa and my mom wanting to move, but
yeah,
because that was like the main focus when we moved here, was taking care of him. They would go on walks in the preserves. Like a lot of my love for nature and stuff like that is because I'd go walking with them for a couple hours, couple long miles, and just seeing deer and different wildlife and gopher tortoises and lotus and these massive frogs at the time. I mean, when you're a kid, the frogs are a lot bigger.
Yeah, everything is, right?
Yeah. The frogs especially, though. I remember like my childhood house, my first home in Florida, like the frogs were like this in comparison to my head. And I think we lived out on the water at first, and I think we had like a good population of bullfrogs that were out there. So
Gotcha. And you still see those today? I mean, are they still? You said they were a lot bigger, but you still see big frogs, a lot of them.
Yeah, not the bullfrogs so much where I live, but like there's tons of toads, and then we have a horrible issue with the Cuban tree frog. It's an invasive frog. It eats all of our native species and stuff like that. So they're everywhere. Like any moist nook and cranny in the backyard, they kind of find a home.
Do they have like any kind of there's a $5 super chat. Does it get any better than Grant and Rico? And that's from Chattanooga Ed. What's up, Ed? Thank you, sir. Do they have like any kind of bounty or anything on them? Did you kill them, or do they?
It would be cool if they had like a hunt like the pythons or something like that. I think they should do that for the plecos, because there's like a horrible pleco issue, and I'm very anti-invasive. Mm-hmm. And my buddy is very pro-animal. So like when I'm on the golf course and I see like one right there on the shelf, I'm like, I want to take a practice swing to it. I just know Matt won't let me at it. But like
Yeah.
I know that thing is gonna just do way more damage to the ecosystem, and especially if it has babies and it moves on to the next water um, point or whatever. So it's just not a good thing. Those and the Cuban tree frogs are really the only invasive besides cats that we have to deal with.
I get your point, though. I see both sides of that because it's not the animal's fault, but at the same
Right.
time, they are so damaging. And I understand that a lot of people do eat those plecos. So,
Man, that I can't find anybody that actually eats them though. And
okay.
like I love fish people, and you go to the fish clubs and there's some oddballs in there. And you think Florida, we're gonna have the oddballs of the oddballs. They don't even eat the plecos because when that comes up, oh, you can eat them, and nobody like, oh yeah, we do it all. At least nobody admits it. But
Yeah. Maybe where they're originally from is, I know it's much more commonplace for the people there to eat them. So, but that's too bad. People should start eating them. I mean, I'm sure it's like catfish in some ways that you just got to cook it the right way to make it decent. I'd eat one.
but
I'd eat
I
the
would
hell
like
out of one.
something. I would like something organized, like the python issue, and
Yeah.
they even have a lionfish tournament. And I'm really good at swimming, so I can hold my breath. I want to enter one of the lionfish tournaments one year. So if they had something like that for plecos, I'm all for that. I mean, you might have some people with issues with crocodiles, I mean alligators, but I don't know. It's for a good cause, worth the risk. I'd
Yeah.
go
And
after them.
I've seen how bad they've gotten. So, okay. So, but you've Hawaii then, but you left there, and do you really remember much of Hawaii, or is it?
So I did. I was lucky enough. I got to travel back as a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
I did sailing as a kid. Traveled there for like the Junior Olympics,
Oh, nice.
and my grandpa had a really nice spot up in the mountain on a little creek. So if I wasn't sailing during the day, I was catching plecos and they were bristlenose and crawfish in a stream. And he had a pond and had an algae issue. And actually, the step ups to his house uh, was to a plexiglass deck, and underneath the plexiglass was his koi pond. But when I got there, you couldn't see anything because all the algae underneath. And then his other issue were tadpoles. So I went into the creek and I caught a bunch of plecos and a bunch of crawfish, threw them in the pond. And by the end of my summer, his plexiglass was clear, and all the tadpoles had been eaten by the crawfish.
Nice.
So
So he always kept them in there from then on.
yeah.
How did you know to do that? You already knew about it.
I knew about the plecos and the suckerfish because I already had a fish tank by that point.
Gotcha.
And I found him in the river just looking around, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna throw this in Grandpa's pond." The crawfish, I actually observed them hunting tadpoles in like a little tiny like puddle from the creek, and I was like, I bet you they'll eat them in his pond. And so like still to this day, I catch and harvest tadpoles and feed them to our crawfish.
Gotcha. That's cool. Just from observing things, there is a lot of that kind of stuff we could still do. I think we could do more often as fish keepers, paying attention to what's out there in the creeks and the stuff, and see how everything works.
So like the tadpoles are a big issue outside right now. The Cuban tree frogs, they lay so many eggs, and I have so many ponds outside that I do have like 5 or 6 ponds where they're just loaded with tadpoles. And I've always like the first year that they came, I was like, oh my God, they're eating shrimp. And that was because I really didn't know the numbers. It was like the first year that they were out there, and I wasn't sure like what to expect. But then by like when the tadpoles were fully morphed and gone, they're about the same population as the other ponds. And then the next year, I kind of didn't really worry about it at all, and I just overfed because I thought, all right, they got to be eating something, so let's just overfeed everything. And then this year, I actually have had some time, and I've just observed and watched, and you see the tadpoles pecking at the biofilms and the algae and whatever on the side of the walls. I mean, they're leaping right over baby shrimp. I mean,
Huh.
the ponds are littered with baby shrimp.
Yeah.
So there doesn't seem like they're hunting them at all. If
Gotcha.
they are, this shrimp during this time of the year, they're just throwing out so many babies. I'm not noticing it. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, and then you don't have to really worry about it too much. You don't have to take those steps and kill the stuff off, even though
yeah,
it is an invasive. Back to what we said before, but at least you don't have to worry and spend a lot of time on something that's really not an issue. You know. So
yeah.
just by observing, that's
And
great.
then Shelby spent like most of Monday in one of our ponds just catching the tadpoles, and then fed them all off to our koi fish. So
Yeah, and that's cool too, having that ready source of good food.
yeah,
And then it's not been raised in some place with a lot of chemicals and stuff. You don't know what's in them. You know what you're getting here. So that's awesome. I love
exactly.
that. I love that.
And it's free.
Yeah, and that's the
That's the
best
big
thing.
thing. Yeah.
Free's my
And,
favorite price too.
and like one of the best free things is mosquito larvae. And because we live in Florida, mosquitoes are such a big issue. They spray. And I have been putting up buckets to try and get mosquito larvae. And that's the one thing I cannot get to just breed in my buckets. I've even got a green water, and I just can't get any. And the seed shrimp and stuff live in the buckets. So it's really just killing the mosquitoes.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, not a bad thing overall. Hopefully, there's nothing out there in the environment that depends on that food as well. But I don't think there is. I don't believe that there's anything that lives entirely off of mosquito larvae. I could be
No,
wrong.
but it definitely helps like some fish and stuff like that out in the wild. If there's mosquito larvae in an abundance, there's
Yeah.
going to be larger spawns, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. It'll
Yeah.
pass down the food chain that way, but it's not needed for the bucket on 4 of the 5 of the older people down the road that just forgot to flip over that bucket 1 month, and now
Yeah.
they're all breeding. There's nothing going into those areas to harvest on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the ones that are like in the retention pond at the end of the road, I'd probably be able to catch a wider variety of fish if they weren't killing off the mosquito larvae that they'd
Yeah.
be eating off. So
Plus just chemicals. I mean, it's just extra
yeah,
chemicals being pumped into the environment. Alex has oftentimes talked about how, you know, um, the mosquito larvae are tiny, and something eats that, and then something eats that, and it just, it builds up. The amount of chemicals in those larger fish builds up. So the least amount of stuff we can pump into the environment, the best. If we can
and
find other ways around it.
I actually had the mosquito control show up at our house and came by with this little like dip. It's like a bucket on a very long stick. And he was just sticking it in all the ponds and seeing if there was any larvae in it. After like the third or fourth one, I'm like, hey, man, I don't know where you've been sticking your stick all day. So could we stop doing this? Because you're not finding anything. And like I showed him, I'm like, I got mosquito fish. If I had a mosquito issue, I'd throw the fish in there and it takes care of the job.
Yeah.
And so I told them, I was like, you ever need mosquito fish, just come on back. The next time somebody came to the door, I was like, oh, you guys need some mosquito fish? And they're like, huh? And I was like, told you the next time you guys come back, you need mosquito fish, you let me know. And they were really confused. I was like, oh, hold on, let me go get you some. And they're like, no, we're here to check your ponds. I'm like, the ponds have mosquito fish. Why are you going to go check them? Like,
Yeah.
So the guy felt real confused and then walked away. And they haven't come back.
I actually knew that story.
Oh,
I've actually heard that story. No, that's okay. I'm not. It's just funny that I don't get to watch your stream very often. Once in a great while, I try to pop in, but you must have told that on the Aquatic Morning Show or something, because I remember that whole process happening. That's funny. Excuse me. So back to Florida. You've been there your entire life, other than the short time in Hawaii, and you got to go back to Hawaii a few times. And you obviously prefer, because you travel quite a bit. You were just in Pennsylvania this past week. You love living in Florida. Is it home? Is it?
Yeah, it's definitely home until they change the laws to the point where I can't keep what I want to keep anymore. They've already limited us on breeding. Last year was our very first year of breeding diamondback terrapins. My buddy had a hurricane come through his house, put water through the windows, and he basically had to relocate to a new house and he was renting in a place where he couldn't bring, like, I think he had 33 tanks and a bunch of ponds and stuff like that. So I was like, hey man, I'll take as much as I can at that time. And another one of our buddies said, hey, I'll take some. And then Mick took what he could to his house. And then when he moved on to his new place where he could, take all of his animals back, he basically took everything back except for the diamondback terrapins, because I'd given them my swimming pool.
No.
So, like, how do you take something from a 16,000 gallon pool and then put them back into a 600 gallon tub? And like, that's what I love about my friend Mick, is he does care about the animals. So he's like, hey man, I'm going to leave the terrapins with you. You can only have 2 of these per person in Florida anyways. And both of these were rescued from either car injury or raccoon attack. So he thought that they weren't going to make it on their own, or they'd be more prone to being eaten by another animal. And so he took them in and healed them up. And it's illegal in Florida to do that on your own and then release it. As long as you don't release it, though, you can keep it. It's perfectly fine.
Gotcha.
So he had ended up getting another one while he found it, like, legit. One of his friends found it while working on a rock yard in the middle of Spring Hill, miles away from its habitat, a baby. Like, it had been fresh, brand, like, laid that day, newborn, very, very dehydrated. Like, we didn't think it was going to survive. And he ended up taking, he's like, look, I already have this one. I don't want to split up the pair. I don't want to take them away from their home. So we had the turtles for like 6 years until they laid, and then they finally laid eggs for us. And then that was the 1 year that we were able to breed them. And then that winter, they changed the law and say no new owners in Florida, which means no more breeding. So they've already done that. And they're talking about putting in a whitelist effect in Florida. And anything that can breed in Florida that isn't native to Florida will be blacklisted. So I won't be able to sell it, transport it. I'll be able to get a Godfather permit for the animals that I currently have.
Yeah.
But like, they would expect me to split up all my colonies of shrimp so they don't breed. I'd have, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups or something going on.
It's okay.
I'd have to move to like Texas or something so I could continue doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I am a wimp when it comes to the cold. Anything above or below 60 degrees, and I'm like, I'm staying inside. So it'd have to be Texas, and I think I'm good for like another 100 years since they just had that ice storm. So I was already looking at like properties in Rivera, Texas. It's like a nice little river town. It's kind of similar to what we got going on here, but I would hate to move. Like, I still live within a mile and a half of my grandpa. He's still alive today, even after having 8 heart attacks. I don't get to spend as much time with him as I want, especially like now. Anytime the kids get a sniffle, I'm like, I don't want to bring that over there.
Yeah.
So there is like a good year and a half where my mom's like, you better not bring anything over to your grandpa's house, because they're in Hawaii and everything's like even more locked down, I think, than most of the other states. So it's good to have them nearby, because when they ran out of like antibacterial hand sanitizer, I was able to make them some rather than them having to go and hunt for it at the stores and stuff like that. So
Gotcha. Yeah, having the family buy is important, especially when you've got older relatives. So, those laws are tough because Florida is overrun with so many different invasives.
It's to the point where, like I mentioned, the only real invasives we have are the plecos and the Cuban tree frogs and cats. Like,
but
that's
anything
really,
can live, right? I mean, just about anything.
but where I live in Florida, though, it freezes too many times out of the year. So it kills off. I can't find any of those cool cichlids. There's no Mayan or jaguar or African cichlids hanging out in my ditch down at the end of my house.
Yeah.
I can go 30 minutes south though, and I can start to find the cool things. I can go an hour south, and then you really get interesting. It's not until you hit the Everglades where you can go get, a
Yeah.
handful of different kind of chameleon species and different things like that. But we
So
should
maybe
be
it has to-
regulating it in South Florida, not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Panhandle shouldn't be suffering. And you should be able to get permits, and we should be regulating and putting on, stronger restrictions for keeping certain animals. And the penalties should be higher if you have an escape or something like that. We should be keeping these keepers responsible.
Yeah. I'm with you. But at the same time, allowing people to responsible people to still have them, to still manage them, to still, as long as they live in the place where it freezes. I'm like up here, and that's the thing we were so worried about with that amendment to the Lacey Act, was that here in New York, I mean, there's not hardly anything that's going to be invasive. You know what I mean? There's most stuff is going to, unless it's birds that migrate, like mute swans and starlings. But when it comes to fish, they're not going to survive over the winter. The water gets hard. There's not much that lives over the winter. So you can't have a blanket law like that. So I get it. But even in Florida, see, I wasn't aware of that either, having never lived in Florida.
Yeah, if anybody's in Florida and they'd like to go and help, there is a petition that they can sign at change.org, or if they'd like to find out more information, USARK, United States of America, or Reptile Keepers, and that they're a really good group. They're ahead of it. They're knocking on the politicians' doors and saying, hey, this isn't right and stuff like that. One of the big fighters for it is Seagrass Farms, because I don't know if they still do, but when they did a talk for our local club, one of their slides was they ship out more boxes through UPS than any other business in the world. So I'm not big on logistics, but that's got to do something to UPS if you just get rid of, 90% of the animal, if not more, that Seagrass Farms carries, because I'm sure that they deal with a lot of flag fish and natives and stuff like that, sailfin mollies or whatever, but it really limits on what they can do. They'd have to move all their farms and all the fish. It's $1 billion business here in Florida. So
and they'd have to move someplace where it's still warm enough. Texas. New Mexico, Louisiana.
But the issue with the hurricanes and everything like that.
Gotcha.
So the flooding issues in Louisiana are really bad. I think that's why Florida is such a staple, is because even when we have bad storm surge from hurricanes, a lot of these fish farms are still set up to where it's above that storm surge table. So don't have to worry about the ponds flooding and then invasive species getting all over the place. So it happens.
Plus, Stephen P. lives in Louisiana, so that just knocks that out. You don't want to go there.
It's probably my second favorite state, though. I love it. I drove there when I had my permit with my dad to go to the Sugar Bowl. It was the one year where Hawaii went undefeated, and they got invited to a bowl. And then it was against Georgia, and Georgia won by 89-0. And whoever booked our tickets messed up and actually had us on the Georgia side.
Oh.
We were just getting annihilated. Yeah,
that sucks. The one time and just destroyed. That's funny.
But we stayed down in the French Quarter at the Renaissance, got to go eat at the Emerald Restaurant during New Year's, saw their little ball drop, and walked down Bourbon Street, and just all the restaurants, all the little nook and cranny gumbo shops. I can eat food I don't look like I eat that much, but I eat my weight in ice cream every month, probably.
I've never been down there. I've never, maybe as a kid I've been through, because I've been through most of the United States as a kid, but I don't remember it ever going. So
I barely remember mine, but yeah.
On my bucket list. All right. Well, a lot of people have moved around a lot, but you haven't. So we'll just sort of we'll move along from that. And why don't we go back to the different jobs that you've held throughout your life? Like, what was the very first thing you did for a living, and how old were you?
I was 13 and I ran the batting cages.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Got paid very little, but free snacks and free as much batting cage practice as I wanted. So, but I did work like 4 hours every day for like 5 days a week for a while. And no, maybe I was 12. I was 12 when I did the batting cages, and then when I was 13, I started doing landscaping with my dad.
Done that. Been there, done that. Keep going. Keep walk us through your
Oh,
work history. I mean, you
oh
don't have to
man.
hit everything, but just some of
Well,
the
it's
stuff that
really
you've
easy
done.
because I just took over my dad's business, and I kind of bred. Before I took it over, I started breeding chameleons with Shelby, and we did chameleons and leopard geckos, and we had 42 different breeders at any given point, and like 60 to 90 eggs in the incubator, and then 60 babies that we were having to feed. But I was taking care of crickets and worms for 2 hours a day, and I did stop working with my dad. We butt heads a lot. It's got to be his way or the highway, and I'm very efficient. I don't like to waste any energy. I like to work smarter, not harder, and I just don't think that he thought that my way was going to get the job done. But hey, because of that, I didn't want to do extra work, so I was like, I'm gonna go do my own thing, and did the chameleons for a while. But my dad was like, hey, I'm gonna move to Hawaii. I want to sell the landscape business, and it was making like $60,000 to $80,000 a year, and I was making like $400 a week, maybe doing the reptiles at that time. And I did have Jaden, my firstborn, and 60 to $80,000 a year guaranteed money. I was like, I'm gonna go take that. I bought it off my dad and made payments on that, and until I was like, I hate this. Why am I doing this? What can I do to get like out of it? Because I'm very gingerly. I had very bright red hair until I got my soul back or something when I was like 16, and
Uh,
I all the hair started changing, getting darker and darker. But hey, you can tell with the beard, I think still, especially with the
is
bright light. But
is Jaden a ginger as well?
I'm so sorry. What did you say?
Is Jaden a ginger as well?
No, neither one of my
Okay.
kids got the red hair.
Okay,
So
because I have a son named Aiden who is a very, I mean, like bright orange, like ginger squared. I mean, just
if, if
massive.
if Shelby's watching and she can bring me one of my old photos, like I was ginger, like soulless gingivitis. I kid, I was safe on Kick a Ginger Day because I played soccer, and anybody that kicked me, it was like, he hit me first type thing. So I was getting out of being in trouble, and I would kick them like it was a penalty kick, and I was taking my free one. And after like the first two kids got kicked, nobody kicked me any years after Kick a Ginger Day. But I was very, very pale, burnt in the sun.
Yep.
And I'm like, why am I baking in the sun? I mean, I ran the business. I had 2 or 3 people working for me at any given time. I never had to do things I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I enjoyed doing the hedge trimming and making bushes look like they belonged in Disney World. That would be fun for me. But at the same time, like if I was doing that, I was making like $100 an hour. So it was worth doing it. But I was just dead at the end of the day. I didn't want to play with the kids. I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to go to the park. I didn't want to go play paintball or golf or, go out and play with the kids. So
You weren't living. You were
I was
just working.
and even though I was on the lawnmower all day, it's hot out. And the heat index was thank God I sold it before the heat index got so bad, because I think it was like 97 degrees or something like that by 8 o'clock in the heat index table or something today. I can't remember what it was. I try not to look at it because I want to be outside as long as I can take, and then I come inside. Like my morning routine, I go out, I feed everything outside, and then once I start getting a little sweat, I'm like, time to hit inside. But Yeah, so I was just on the lawnmower, just thinking, what can I do? And when I was doing the chameleons, no matter what you searched on Craigslist, this ad for shrimp would pop up: buy or breed, raise, and sell red cherry shrimp, make a side living from home. And I just couldn't sleep one night. Read the entire website, built the pond, that schematic that he had, and everything. And I tried to buy the red cherries off of his site, and they were always sold out. And I was like, man, there's got to be something to it. And then I sold my chameleons off, took over my dad's business. And I was like, I'm getting my hands on some cherry. I'm not going to have no critters. I'm going to have something. So I convinced Shelby to let me get a tank of red cherry shrimp, put them on the hallway. And like, it was super cheap. I bought pea gravel from Home Depot. I got an old aquarium heater that we already had from one of our past setups. Shelby, when I met her, she had a couple tanks, and then because I wanted her to spend more time at my house, I got 2 tanks in there. And so we had backup equipment, and I don't know why I used the heater at first. Wrong information. If you have a shrimp tank out there, you're looking to set one up, skip the heater. But you know, 1 tank turned into 2 tanks, turned into 3 tanks, and they were all like old leopard gecko tanks. So I really hadn't spent any money into it. And I'm like, maybe if I sell some cherries, I can get a different color. And I started using 1 shrimp to pay for the next. And then before I knew it, I had like 55 different varieties, like 45 tanks. And I was like, I think if I sell the landscape business, focus on, you know, breeding shrimp, I can make this work. And then Shelby stepped up to the plate and got a couple extra jobs. But it's, you know, the teamwork that made it happen. But
Yeah. How long ago was that?
5 years.
Okay. So 5 years, you became your own boss again in a different business, a different thing, and you haven't looked back. And did it take a little while before it was really profitable, or did you sort of hit the ground running once you hit that point and you sold off the business and stuff?
So, I mean, I'll be honest. As soon as I got to the point where we probably could have like used it to make a lot of money, Shelby also like got promoted, got stepped up, didn't need 3 jobs anymore. She works at a boating store, and she's the head manager now. And she makes enough money that basically anything that I make selling shrimp, I put right back into the business.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the goal is we need to keep building and building until
Hi,
Shelby
Shelby.
found the picture. But the goal is to build it up high enough that Shelby can step aside and we don't jeopardize our future for our kids.
Gotcha.
Because like right now we have a college fund. I don't know what she said. Oh, she said hi, I think. You know, the kids have a college fund. They're very spoiled on their birthdays. They're very, you know, they're very spoiled and lucky. You know, I always want to give my kids more than what I have.
Yep.
And I have 2 kids. I was an only child growing up. And when you have an only child, you can't give them a brother or sister. You give them a bunch of pets. Like I had a little mini zoo almost the entire. Like I had 4 dogs at one point and a bunch of other animals, koi pond, turtles, other stuff in the house. So, and 2 birds. Like we had a blue macaw and a redhead parrot. And so like our house was like a mini zoo growing up. I was very lucky that way, but I probably would have traded all of that for a brother or sister. So I wanted to make sure that my kids had, you know, someone else and wasn't an only child. So, and within like 2 years, I felt like that was the magic number. So like 2.5 is where we were able to make it. But yeah, we don't want to step down from Shelby's job and then the kids can't do soccer or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want them to be able to do anything they want.
Have all those creature comforts, and yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
And doing right by your kids, yeah, that's always the first thing of a good parent, you know.
And I'm not gonna lie, we do spend a lot of the money on the trips and going out. Like, you know, if it was a business trip, I would have just flown to Pennsylvania and used it on their dime. But instead, like we pay gas and tolls for the whole family to go up. We go to see the zoo and everything like that. Like they're involved, they're in it. So it's, you know.
How do they feel about it? Do they enjoy doing those types of things and going?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the kids love traveling. you know, they just love hotels. I don't get why, but it's like every hotel is the nicest hotel. And I'm like, Layla, we've stayed at the Renaissance. We've stayed at like the Gaylord Palms in Florida. Like these kids have stayed at some really nice ones, and we'll go to like, you know, True by Hilton or just some regular Holiday Inn, and they're like, yes, so nice in here as soon as you open those doors. So
Yeah, it's new. It's new. It's exciting.
yeah.
You're living someplace new for a while, so I get it. That's funny. Um,
And they do like the zoos and the stuff like that. So even though like we've probably been like 10 times to our local zoo here, because you get a pass 1 year and you get season tickets to go every year. So
yeah,
we can't go every time. And then like during the summer, it's brutal. So we don't like to go during the summer. But it was really nice in Pennsylvania. It wasn't humid. It wasn't that hot. Like it was, we went around twice. It was, you know, I didn't break a sweat or anything like that. And the kids didn't want to go home. They wanted to stay, but I had to get back to go have dinner before my talk. But it was, the kids really enjoy it. I wish I could bring them to more shows, but it's just like not possible to take them with us to Aquashella.
how old are they?
7 and 9, and
Oh,
Layla,
okay,
yeah, Layla's birthday's next month, so they'll be 10 and 8.
okay. So, I mean, that's still pretty young. Not really. I mean, enough that they can entertain themselves, but not enough to watch themselves yet. So I get it. Yeah, taking them to a show and stuff, especially as a business. You know, you've got a
Yeah,
business to run. So
it's funny because like Jaden goes to some of the Aquashellas and some of the shows with me, and I feel comfortable with like letting him go get me something at the show and coming back. And then Shelby's like, he's been gone for an awfully long time. I'm like, I don't know. And then I'll go find him. And he's just like chatting with somebody like I know that he's okay to chat with. And then like at one of the past shows, somebody was like, "Who? That's your son?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Dude, I see him at all the shows. I didn't know this was your kid." And I'm like, "Yeah, he's there." But Layla is still too small. I can't let her out of my eyesight at those shows. So we do the shrimp contest. Shelby and myself, we organize it, and then we do 1 or 2 aquascape contests sometimes at Aquashella. Last time we do the fluvial contest, and I also competed in the Owasi Creators contest.
wow.
And then on top of that, we had a booth.
Yeah.
So it's like we're stretched already in 3 different places. And then we also like to help out behind the scenes with the show and stuff wherever we can too. So bringing the kids is just a little bit too much. It would be like 5 things adding on parenting. And they've already seen it all. So like we bring their cousin and they're going to all the tanks and ooh, ah, and everything like that. And my kids are just standing back until like they see something, you know,
New.
really exciting and new.
Yeah.
Or Jaden likes sharks, so he'll see a shark and he'll go after that. Layla likes Cory cats and axolotls. They'll go after, but just the aquascape tanks and stuff like that, unless they did it themselves, then they're not interested in it.
Gotcha.
So, but they do that as well.
What about at home? Do they enjoy doing stuff? Do they have their own tanks and they do stuff at home too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jaden has 42 tanks in his room that are kind of like breeding tanks for me.
Jeez.
One of them is their axolotl tank, and then Jaden has his scape tank for the Florida Aquarium Beautiful contest. Florida hosts a contest at their Florida State Fair every year. So me, Shelby, Jaden, and Layla, we all enter a tank, and Jaden took best of show for the kids. I took best of show for adults. So father, son. It's the second time we've done that.
That's cool.
But Layla, I mean, if she just would have picked the red cherry, Jaden picked these really big, bright, beautiful red cherries that really popped. And the contest is around Valentine's Day, so I want to say he gets extra points for that. And then Layla picked these blue dreams, and they're kind of smaller. They didn't really pop in her tank, and they were on white substrate. I think her scape was nicer, but because it's a beautiful contest, not a scape contest, Jaden pulled it off. So,
Gotcha.
but they know the rules of aquascaping. They know no flat surfaces. They know certain things need to, you know, be scaled for depth and to make it They know the rules of the house. They know rules when we go out. They know rules when we aqua skate.
That's cool. That's cool that they get into it so much. I love that part of it. Nobody in my house is interested. My daughter has an axolotl. She's an adult. She's 25, but she has an axolotl. But that's it. That's the only aquatic pets anybody else has in the house, and they're not interested.
But Layla has her Cory cats. Jaden has his angelfish. Jaden, of course, doesn't like. I mean, he's into the shrimp, but when we set up the shrimp contest for Orlando, he's not interested in the shrimp. He's next door at the flower horn contest checking out those. He's like, "Oh, these are really cool. I want one of these." I'm like, "All right, all right." And then we go to our fish club meetings, and literally Aquashella was Saturday, Sunday. Our fish club meeting was Monday, the very next day. We ended up going, and of course, there's never been one there ever.
Yep,
but flower horn. So he has a flower horn. Layla has her daisy rice fish and stuff like that. So,
gotcha. That's cool. They're heavily involved. It's changing gears a little bit. How did you and Shelby meet? How long have you guys been together?
Since 2010.
Okay. And how did you guys meet? How did that all happen? How did you?
So we were on the swim team together.
Okay.
My senior year, my junior year, I lost like 30 pounds during spring break playing handball. And I came back to school and I just had like more confidence. And I was like, I'm athletic. I can do things again. I had asthma really bad as a kid. And my albuterol that I was taking, it's like a steroid, it caused my metabolism to crash. And no matter how much I exercised and dieted, I just kept on the weight. And like when I was 16, hanging out spring break, I didn't want to hit my inhaler and do all that stuff around my friends while we were playing handball and hanging out. So I skipped out on it. And like my parents were giving me money for food, and instead of that, I was spending it in gas money and just driving around and going to parties and stuff like that. So I ended up losing a lot of weight. And then one of these kids were talking about how, though, the swim team, that's the hardest thing to do. And I was like, no, it's not. I do scuba diving, snorkeling, spearfishing. And I had this one buddy who, no matter what, he was the best at everything. I mean, he had like a black belt when he was 12. And what he couldn't be faster than me at was swimming. Anytime we went to Jenny Springs or the river or anything like that, I knew I could pull a fast one on Ryan and then head to the water, jump in the water and swim away, and he couldn't catch me. On land, I was done for. I was slow as snails. So I was like cocky about just swimming. I was like, no, I'll have no problem. And I held that confidence until the very last week of school, and they make the announcement for swim team, and I'm in the same class as that girl that's making the talking all this, and I'm like, she's like, so you going? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going. And I went, and then I had conditioning scheduled, and I was like, I've never even swam, and I'm about to go to conditioning for a high school team, and it's my senior year, so I went to the YMCA and took lessons, and I didn't realize that was the very first day of conditioning set up too. So I ended up going my first day to the YMCA, and this is where I was like, all right, cool, because I knew I watched Michael Phelps do it in the Olympics. I watched a couple YouTube videos real quick. I was like, all right, I can do this, no problem. And then my flip turn was just horrendous. So then the lady's like, all right, hold on. You can swim, but you can't do the flip turn when you get to the wall and you turn and push off. So that's all I did for the first 30 minutes before I went to high school conditioning, and I got it down. So when I went to high school conditioning, I was not only faster than all the kids on my team, but all the kids in Hudson too. So it was two counties that met up at one pool to do conditioning for summer. And the Hudson coach very first day was like, you already have your school signed up and everything? You can't switch schools real quick? Come over here to Hudson. And I was so new that I made it to districts, and my coach goes, all right, I was going to wait till next year to teach you this, but I think we can cut a couple seconds out of your time for regionals. And I go, what do you mean next year, coach? Do you know this is something I don't know? Do I get a scholarship to some big school that you just know I'm going to take and you're my coach? Like, what's the big news here, coach? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm a senior. This is it. This is my last probably, crack at it, because I knew right there. I was already skipping like as much school as I possibly could. I got caught at swim practice. The coach was like, hey, Grant, I went to school today and you weren't there. And I was like, yeah, I had something else I had to do today. And she's like, yeah, but this is like the 4th time this week. And I was like, but I'll be there tomorrow. Don't worry. And so she's like, you have to go on days or else I'm going to get in trouble. So, but districts, like I swam a 56-second 100, and that's pretty fast. And if you had 2 kids on your team that swam under a minute, then you were set to like go on to the regionals for the relay. Well, I swam a 56-second. The next guy swam a 52nd second. The next guy swam a 52nd second. And then the next guy, his goggles came off. So he swam with the goggles in his hand a minute 45. So we lost because of that. We placed like 17th, and you had to place top 16 to move on. But then for whatever reason, they make you do it again for points for the school. And our team was faster than the first place team that moved on. But because it didn't count, it was just
damn goggles.
Heartbreaking. But I ended up being one of the only other guys. There's 2 guys that went on to regionals from our swim team, and I think 4 or 5 girls. And Shelby was one of the girls on the swim team. And because there was not that many kids, and a lot of the meets were like back to back and stuff like that, Shelby ended up like being one of the people to help me out when I did my race. And when she did hers, I was at the end of her race, and she was exhausted and didn't have the energy to get out of the pool. So I pulled her out of the pool, and when I pulled her out, she collapsed. So I picked her up and brought her to first aid and kind of stayed with her, and then the rest is history.
You were her knight in shining Speedo. I don't know.
Yeah, but it worked out for me.
Yeah. So high school sweethearts, basically. Then, even though it was the end of, wow, that's you just don't hear about that too often. And 2 kids, and it's been, you said 2010.
And the good thing is I probably got a lot of that like wrong or out of order or something like that. So when you have Shelby on, you'll probably get a whole new version of it. Like
it'll be totally different.
And Shelby's the one that pulled me out of the pool.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I got it backwards. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's the one that saved you. All right. Well, we're actually almost an hour in, if you can believe it. So I think now's a good time we can. Before we do that. Is there anything you want to tell everybody? So you do a live stream on Monday nights at 9:30, right?
Yeah. No, 9.
9:30. 9. How come I can't get it right?
I mean, you got it right like 3 times in a row.
I can't get it right to see my life. Here, I'm going to put you on the big screen there.
So
yeah.
Ginger.
I got it
shining through, but yeah,
I got to share real quick too, but we'll keep going while I'm doing this. So you guys do your stream on Monday nights, 9 p.m. Central Time. You and Shelby both. Do you have anything going on right now that you want to tell people about, as far as any projects going on that you want to talk about, or?
So I do have a short deadline before we get to the Triple Crown. I want to be able to get done with this next tank rack. And today we just moved 22 IBC totes in place. I just wanted to get those ready. I wanted to figure out how many more I could fit down the side of the house. So when I get back from Aquashella Dallas, I'll finish everything outside, and we'll basically double all of our ponds outside. But before we go to Triple Crown, I want to finish everything inside. So I have a tank stand that we're going to build. It's 90 10-gallon tanks. We just finished one for 100 10-gallon tanks. And Shelby's going to take 45 of the tanks on this side and going to use them for like Achilles fish, maybe some rainbows. And then the other side I'll be using for Caridina, because I have so many projects that I want to get in and tackle. We have over 130 different varieties of shrimp, and I want to create my own types and own varieties. And in order to do that, I need to start traveling down as many roads as I can by crossing as many different phenotypes together with one another and just seeing what I get. And then, you know, I might not make different color tones and stuff like that, but different patterns and different stuff like that. You're also playing like the lottery. Each one of them is like a little mini scratch off, because you could get a mutation or something new out of nowhere, and then that's the next big shrimp. So
Gotcha. And where can people go to find you have shrimp food now too, right? Is it fish food and shrimp food, or just shrimp food?
I mean, you could feed the snowflake. Our plecos and Cory cats eat it. But if you go to our site, tgoeshrimp.com, we've got a ton of moss, a bunch of different shrimp. And then our most recent thing is the shrimp foods. And then we also sell aquachar. But that's it for now. We've always had that option of like, do we want to do products, or do we want to do a new rack system? And until now, it's always been a new rack system. But because I am trying to make it more goal oriented for Shelby to step aside from the corporate nightmare that she's in. I mean, she makes good money, but nobody likes working for somebody else, and nobody likes working in a man's world where you got this old guy going, oh, I want to talk to that guy. And Shelby's like, I just hired him a week ago, and you're just going to come back and ask me. And then they talk to her like she's stupid. And it's just not everybody's like that, but you know, you get 1 out of 100 people, and you have 100 people come in every day. It's just one guy ruins your day every single day. So it's just a step to do whatever we can. So I do have one right ahead. Shelby is very artsy and creative. So this is our shrimp food. It's called Soy Ahoy. It's all Shelby. But then I was like, all right, so the Ahoy, you're going to go with the pirate theme. So you're going to have a shrimp on the pirate ship. And then she did that. And then I was like, well, he's got to have a pirate hat. And then she did that. And I was like, he needs a sword. And then I'm like, there needs to be a shark in the water and an island with a little bit of a booty on it. So she answered all my wishes. And then she's got another food that it's going to be bee pollen, and she's going to call it the bee's knees. And then it's going to have like a shrimp with bees on the kneecaps. So, but then we have the Shrimp Envy line of shrimp foods. So you don't have to bring this one up, but it's only natural. It's a great food. We've been feeding it for I think over a year now on our tanks. It's a good price, and what I like about it is a little goes a long way. I'm sorry, a little goes a long way. Also, that's our mascot. He's 140 to 160 pound Dogos Argentinos, but he's deaf. So he doesn't know he sounds so terrifying. And I can't even go, hey, buddy, can you be quiet? I'm on a stream, because unless he's looking at me. But he listens perfectly as long as he's looking at me, and I can do my signs and stuff like that. And then he's great. But also, like, he'll get out of your way most of the time until I started, like, saying, like, how, like, well, he did that, and then he's like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I heard you talking about how I just get out of your way, man.
I will never.
Puppy. He just got right over.
I will never be bothered by a dog bark. I absolutely love any home that has dogs in it is a better home to me. Just right off the bat, I absolutely love dogs. I got my old Tucker sitting here right next to me. He passed away a couple months ago, so got him right next to me though.
Sorry to hear about that. And I did hear how you wanted your Father's Day present, and Shelby was like, oh, you know what I mean? That
didn't happen. That didn't happen. My wife doesn't want me to get a dog, so I'll be getting a dog soon. Because there's very few times when I just say, this is what's happening, and this is what's happening.
You going to go for another pug, or do you...
No, because we do rescues. So,
Okay.
I
No.
would never go to a breeder for a pug. I don't think pugs should be bred. I they have too many health issues, and I'm really against that. But if somebody has one already that they want to get rid of, and I want to get a puppy this time, so I'll get something that's long lived and doesn't really have those bred in health issues, which I know a lot of dogs do. There's a
Yeah.
lot of them that do. So I'll be I'm going to take my time and pick something good. I just want something a little bit smaller and something that lives a long time. And it doesn't even have to be a full bred dog. I don't care. It can be a mutt. I'll take a look at a lot of the places around us and see if any of the rescues have something, keep my eyes peeled that way.
Right.
I just want a small puppy.
And that's the way to do it. The only time I say is get a dog from a breeder is when you have a family and you making sure that you get it at 8 weeks old because you have a small kid and you need to make sure that there's not going to be any issues. Otherwise, if you can take a rescue, that's the most
Yeah.
enjoyment that you could ever get.
Yeah. All of our dogs were, well, no, that's not true, but our two pugs were that way. So, real quick, I wanted to share this before we jump into the questions too. This is my youngest son, and he's actually 20 now, but this was when he was about, I don't know, about 3. So you can see you were talking about Ginger.
So when I was 3, I was blonde, and then we moved to Florida, and it turned red. Oh,
And now he has his beard. He has a very thick, long beard, and it's oranger than that.
oh
So
wow.
it's dark orange, his beard, and
No, I
he's a
think
big kid. He's 6'4", so
I think
he's
I'm even losing the red in the beard, but I'm also getting like silver hair already. Yeah.
this was Ginger. This was all
Oh,
Ginger, and now look at it. It happens. People get old. Okay, so now's a good time. Oh, and one other thing, real quick. Let's talk about sending shrimp to space. Love that story. You talked about it on Aquatic Morning Show. Absolutely love that story. Talk a little bit about how that is working out and what's
all
going on
right.
there.
It is a fail. It had too many malfunctions. So day 1 they tried to launch and it was bad weather. Day 2 they go out to launch and they had an engine fail and they tried to work on it in the Arizona heat. And I guess there were some casualties as well during that. Then the next day they try to go out and for whatever reason, insurance inspectors or whatever wouldn't let them launch.
Hmm,
So I don't
that's
know how many days or whatever. I guess that was it. And so a couple things to take from it, though, is they use clove oil to put the shrimp to sleep. The reason why they had to put the shrimp to sleep was because during the rocket launch, the G forces would cause the shrimp to have a heart attack or a stroke. And that would either kill them or damage the reproductive organs. So they wouldn't be able to breed afterwards. So by putting them to sleep and then waking them up after the rocket ride, and then seeing if they can breed. So I was told that they were doing tests in Poland before they came over here to send them up in the rocket, and that they were already using neocaridina, and that the adults were uh, better than juveniles or adults for the sedative because they survived better and were able to be woken up or whatever. I don't know how much research though that they put into like breeding the shrimp. So they're still very curious if I could breed the shrimp because they're going to ship me the shrimp back. So I don't know if I can get my hands on clove oil. Before they said it was clove oil, it was like eucalyptus or something like that. I can't remember. So I don't know if eucalyptus different than clove oil or whatever they sent. I'm dyslexic, so whatever it is in my brain is definitely wrong than what it's written down. So,
Gotcha.
but it would be interesting if I could get them to breed and then become part of that research paper that would later on go on to helping, shrimp get to space. The reason why they wanted to get shrimp up into space is for colonies, settlements, and self-sustained ecosystems and stuff like that, because the hydroponics isn't as easy as just putting. That's our doggy door. It just barrels through. I don't know if you were able
I
to
didn't
hear
even
it.
hear it.
Oh, all right. It distracted me. But it's not just putting seeds in water with fertilizer and getting plants to grow. Eventually, it's going to crash. So I don't know if they're going to use the shrimp to break down like old plant matter that's not edible and then put that back into the system, or eat the shrimp. But basically, it was two main things for the shrimp. One was they're like a miniature version replica of the larger freshwater prawns. So they thought if they could get these to go up and simulate, that they would have a higher chance of being able to do the larger prawns as a food source. The other thing is as pollinators. So I don't know if that's for um, breaking down biofilm and then pooping it out and getting it to grow, or bacterias, or something like that, or like I said, eating the food that we're not going to eat. I think that would be a better use for them. But they also were doing bees, bumblebees, honeybees. I'm sorry, not for that, for the mispronunciation. So it was just cool to be a part of it. It would have been really cool to get them to go up on a rocket, but maybe I'll reach out to some. I'm really good with one of the peoples at the University of Florida, so maybe I can do something with them and see if they have like a rocket program or something. So I'll have to talk to Dr. Roy about that, but he does the whole aquaponics, aquaculture and stuff like that. And I'm sure that would be something they'd be worth looking into, is, breeding fish up in space.
Well, that's too bad. That's too bad, because I was really interesting. I was really interested in how that was going to go, and everything. I know a lot of people are like, why would they do that? But there's reasons. I mean, there was good reasons. You explained some of them. It was just really interesting. I was hoping it was going to work out. Besides, that would be great for your branding, to know that, rocket shrimp or whatever you're going to call
I almost
them.
didn't want to talk about it because like I knew something like this would happen, but
Yeah.
Once it's already on its way, it's just too exciting not to mention it.
Yeah, I think it's still important to share.
Still gonna go for it. It's not said and done. I'm sure
Yeah.
they're gonna do an event next year, or you know what I mean, take part. And when they do, I'll send them the shrimp. But it's still the whole clove oil and stuff like that. And I think it would be cool to like experiment it with it myself and like do a video, be like, oh no, the shrimp is dead. Well, take some shrimp envy special water and then pours it in at the exact second it comes back to life, and be like,
Yeah.
get it here at tgoeshrimp.com. But
Yeah, that's advertising right there. That's what all advertising is.
It would be for an April Fool's joke. Like I wouldn't just post it. One of my best April Fool's joke, and I don't play fair either. My April Fool's jokes don't always happen on the 1st of April Fools. You know what I mean? I'll wait sometimes till the very last day of April to pull it off. And in one year, I got this idea driving home from Dallas. And I was going to tell everybody that cleaning out the shrimp tanks, I got something real itchy. And by the time I got home in Florida, I just couldn't take it anymore. I go to the doctors and find out I've got a shellfish allergy, and that I was going to have to get rid of all the tanks in my house, and I wasn't going to be able to breed shrimp anymore. And I go into like good paragraph far enough that like you had to read a decent far enough ways to like, oh yeah, by the way, sorry, I decided to pull my April Fool's joke today. I had people calling me like in tears, like, not relatives, but like good friends. Like, I'm so sorry this has happened. Like, I don't know what you're going to do. Cause it was like too close after I'd sold the landscape company. And like, I wasn't going back to doing that. So like,
it just proves that people don't, read an entire article before, making their assumptions.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else to tell people before we open up to the questions? Anything you got coming up? Any?
No, just the shrimp contest. If people want to enter in the shrimp contest at Aquashella in Dallas, it's August 7th and 8th. If you're going to Aquashella, you get VIP access for both days for $25 if you enter your shrimp into the contest.
Ooh.
So it's one group of shrimp, 3 to 5 shrimp need to be 1 inch in size or 3 centimeters. The larger the shrimp, the more points you're going to score. And you basically just want to enter the biggest, most identical looking group that you can. 3 to 5 shrimp, less than 3 or more than 5, and you'll get disqualified. So, you'd be surprised. Like Jess entered her shrimp one year and got second place.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought that those deserved to get first place. Not a judge, though. We just helped organize it. They were going to make it a display. And I was like, nah, let's keep it a contest. That was just right after we had entered and scored a perfect 10 in Neo Caridina and won Best in Show. And like once you get that high of a point, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
You can't do any better than that.
Yeah.
There's no extra credit, like 10 extra point system that they're going to put into effect or anything like that. So I was like, why don't we step aside? And there was another guy, Eric Lucas, who was winning every other time or the majority of the other awards that I wasn't. And I was like, hey, man, the two of us, you be lead judge for the majority of the shows. We'll bring in somebody else to lead judge here and there. But like, I was like, hey, man, together, we're probably better off if we get behind the contest rather than just enter in every single one. And then let's go head to head and battle it out at the international contest because somebody else runs that entirely. BJ and Shrimp King. So
Yeah. Are you going to be at any other? No, you're going to be at the Triple Crown. That's the first one coming up, right?
We're going to Triple Crown, and then the very next week after that is the Aquashella Dallas. And then after that, there is Animal Con in Florida in August. And then we're going to the Keystone Clash, AGA, Aquashella, Chicago. And those are back-to-back-to-back weeks. So that's 3 weeks of shows in a row,
Wow.
2 weeks of being in Chicago, basically, because AGA is in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to do the Ohio Fish Swap, or what is the Ohio one where the Greater Ohio Club meeting where they do the hotel rooms and everybody sets up tables in those?
I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking that. Oh, no. The ACA is normally in St. Louis, isn't it?
Maybe I'm wrong, and it's not Ohio and it's St. Louis. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I can't remember where that's at. But Jason from Primetime Aquatics was like telling me I should go to that one, and I was like, I forgot all about it. But somebody else told me I should go, and I had it all in the books for us to go before COVID. And then COVID, before COVID, we had every single month booked except for 1 month, and I know by the time we had reached August, I would have had booked it. So,
yeah. Wow. Well, save some energy for the Clash. Save some. I don't want you all burned out and just like, hey man, how you doing?
I'm still young, and I see.
Rub it in.
I got such good mentors out of our fish clubs that they're like, hey man, you gotta go. If I was your age, man, I would be doing it all. And I'm like, all right, Mike, man, I'll get it done for you. And I'm gonna save my good fish because I'm doing on Scotty's stream 7:30 on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna save my good fish story, fish club stories for his stream because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So you want to hear the rest of that bit, you got to go over to Scotty's. But
yeah, Scotty the Fish Freak. That's you can find them.
Really, really good group of mentors and supporters from our club. So I get them behind me, and I got to get as much done. And then number one, Shelby, is you get her because I want something, and she's like, "Oh, I want it too." And then you're like, "Well, I want to make her happy, so let's just do it,"
Okay, and one last thing, and we'll finally open it up. How'd you get the hat?
So I got my official Fish Mafia, Tennessee Fish Mafia hat, and I got the shirt also, but I'm not wearing it. I wore it last night, so it'd be weird if I had it on tonight. I mean, really making Shelby do too much laundry if I'm wearing that shirt every night. So we got it at Aquaticon.
Okay.
We were like one of 5 freshwater booths for the very first Aquaticon in Tennessee. And Chattanooga Ed was selling them at the YouTube booth. And he tried to give it to me, and I was like, nope, I'm buying this, and I think the shirt was for Shelby and the hat was for me, but I've been wearing the shirt more than Shelby. I think it's a little bit too big for her, but
I still don't have one. I'm jealous. Ed needs to send me one of those. So he kept one aside for me. So it's got to make its way here. But with all of his health issues lately, he hasn't had a chance. I need to get one of those. Okay, let's open it up finally to the chat. So if you guys have questions, please do the @RicoStan so it pops out. It's nice orange for me on the black background. I can really see it. And you can ask questions about how to do stuff with shrimp, but let's try and focus more on the personal side of things if you want to know questions about Grant. And the very first one I see is from Dr. Awesome, 7:35 my time. So if you ask a question before that, please ask it again. He says, I can't keep my shrimp alive. He says, I lose about 20 a day in the 5-gallon tank, but the other 375 shrimp are doing okay. Can you help? I should have read that. Because he's saying he has basically 400 shrimp in a 5-gallon.
I mean, it's possible, but that's probably telling you the colony is probably having that many babies a day, and it's thinning the herd. Once you get to a certain number in your tanks, they're going to start taking care of each other. They'll start eating on the week. If you go too long without feeding them and one molts, the other ones will either, if it's a female, they'll have babies with it, but if it's a just soft, weaker male and not a dominant male in the tank, the other shrimp will eat it alive. So shrimp are probably molting and then becoming food for other shrimp in a 5-gallon with that many shrimp.
Yeah, I've got a mate about 35 in my little 5-gallon, maybe not even that. It's right next to me here, just some cherry shrimp. Let's see. Where was I at there? Vanoski, hello. He says, how Grant simplify shrimp keeping? I'm not sure. Vanoski, I'm sorry. I'm not. I think it's just a typo there, or it says how Grant simplify shrimp keeping. So I know that you missed out something, and I'm not sure exactly what we're looking for. How can Grant simplify shrimp keeping, or just ask it again?
I'll keep it simple for you, man. Sponge filter, 10-gallon tank. If you go smaller, you're gonna have issues. They won't breed as fast or grow up as fast, and they won't grow as big. So 10 gallons is as minimum as I want to go for breeding tanks. The bigger, the better, of course. And then if you're doing neocaradinas, any inert substrate will do. Tap water with prime to take out the chlorine, and then feed every other day. Throw in some driftwood if you want to get fancy. Add some plants for surface area. And you want to make sure that there's plenty of little nooks and crannies for them to eat the biofilm. That wants to be 60% of their diet. And then the other foods that you're feeding is just to supplement the fact that biofilm takes so long for it to grow. So,
gotcha.
In a nutshell, that's it.
And
water changes every week 10% or every other week 20%. That's the bare minimum. Do more than that if you can't have the time and source. So I could do 20% every week or 50% every other week, just fine.
Gotcha. Mark, this question's been asked. So Myrtle, one of our great composers. I don't know if you know Myrtle.
Yep.
Okay. He's been asking the same question. So you're like the 72nd interview, and Myrtle's asked this question just about every single stream. He hasn't been around lately. He's had so much going on, and he's at home. And anyways, he's just not been around. So other people have been asking for him. I love the history of it. I mean, again, we've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and it's been in just about every stream. So it's the Myrtle question. And the Myrtle question is, what would you change about me, and what would I change about you? So,
like appearance-wise, or
just whatever, appearance or character or anything. What would you change about me? If you could.
And I have to pick something, then. I can't be like, I wouldn't change anything. He's such a great guy. I can't pull that one.
I've done that though, because sometimes, and if I don't know the person well enough, I mean, sometimes when we have the interview, the things come up, and something bad that happened in their life, and maybe you don't want to take that out because it changes who they are, but maybe some of the ramifications of it. It's a very hard question to answer. If you have something that comes to mind, fine. If you don't,
well, because like I feel like there's like stipulations to it too. Because like of course like the thing that I would change is I'm sorry, I don't know what your illness is exactly, but I know there's a reason why you can't make a lot of the shows and that you've made the Keystone Clash the only one. So like why wouldn't my answer be like I'd make him healthy enough to go to all the shows?
Yeah. And that's a good question. That's a good answer. It is. I mean, again, it did change who I am as a person, but it would be awesome to not have it. I've had it.
And then if there's something I can change, if your mind was set to not doing Fish Fam Christmas, I would change your mind to that you were doing it.
We are doing it.
If I could change anything, it would be the uncertainty, and then it's set in stone that you're doing it and that I can do it this year. Because one of the things I wanted to bring up was I stumbled upon you because of Ed. I met Ed at Aquashella and James. And when I broke my ankle was when I finally had time to start watching people's channels. And you and Ed were on, I don't know if it was his channel or your channel or what, but YouTube did its magic and suggested you or whatever. But I watched the first episode and I was hooked. I watched you, Ed, James, and Lefty as much as I could during like the 10 weeks that I had to be bedridden because I had nothing else to do. There was no entertainment. I couldn't get up. Anytime I did get up, Shelby looking out for me. Oh, don't do this. But like driving me nuts, not having anything to do. So like the only time I could sit and rest and keep off of my leg was during your guys' live stream. So if you didn't do so many live streams, I probably would have re-broke my ankle or done something more stupid than what I had done in the first place. So it was just excellent that, full circle, here I am today. When I got that email, I was like, yes, finally. Like, I was like, oh man, I hope our YouTube's going to, because we didn't do live stream or anything like that. I did know, like, before I broke my ankle, I did it like 2 days after Black Friday. Cyber Monday, I was going to buy like a mic to start doing live streams and getting more involved in the community. And I was like, oh man. And you're one of the reasons why. It's because I was like, oh, hopefully like I get doing live streams and I could be on Rico's stream one time. So here we are. It's a dream come true.
That's awesome. Well, I do remember the first time you contacted me because it was right when we were finishing up we had just finished the donations for.
No, I think it was in the middle, but you had already given everybody their set amount, and then you're like, I have $400, I don't know what to do with it, and split it up to the channels. I was like, I'll give you an extra $200 and you can like divvy it up between whoever. But I was like, it's still $600 to like 14 channels or whatever you had. It's like less than $50. That's not worth it. So
yeah, we I do remember that though, and that was the first time I hadn't heard about you. But Ed told me, again, Chattanooga Ed was the one who said, oh no, I got to meet him there. He's a great guy. And then I started seeing you all over the place. So, and I love seeing new people come into our community. It's awesome. It's always, especially people that have so much knowledge and experience keeping stuff. It increases our hobby for everybody. We all get to benefit from you hanging out with us on these streams and doing stuff.
And I always felt so bad because I never like watched. I'm part of the YouTube, creators for Aquashella, and I like never watched anybody's stream. So when I broke my ankle, I was like, I'm gonna make a point to watch everybody's stream who's a part of that. So I was like, I know what you got going on now and stuff like that, but you weren't part of the Aquashella fam. You and Lefty. So I stumbled upon you guys because of the full circle there.
Yeah.
So it was great.
We need more people to break their ankles so they watch us.
And then like I haven't met you in person, but because I've watched so many of your streams, I feel like we've already talked before. So it's great. Like usually you like to have people up and get to know them a little bit before stream, but I felt like we didn't even need that. We
Oh
could
yeah,
just jump right into it. So
yeah. I felt the same way too. And I, to be honest, I haven't watched a ton of your streams. A lot of times by 9 o'clock, I'm done.
no,
Just depends. You know?
like anybody that streams like during the middle of the day. That's when I'm trying to get work done, and I start watching streams, and then I start flooding tanks. I'm like, I gotta stop answering chat. I answer one person in chat, and then the next person's hi. I'm like, I gotta say hi to all these people, or somebody's gonna feel left out.
Yeah.
And then it's like great person after great person. I'm like, oh man.
2 hours later. Well, we are definitely doing Fish Fam Christmas. We're working right now, putting together. And last year it was, while it was a community event, it was just me doing all of, the organization and stuff and everything. But this year there's going to be a committee of people with people doing some promotional stuff and people doing, shipping and just all kinds of different things.
I would like to see Dee Dee as Mrs. Claus give out some of the giveaways.
We can do that if she's open to that.
Instead of just you and Ed. I don't know if somebody else jumped in and did part of the Santa, but I think even Shelby jumping in doing a Mrs. Claus too.
Sure. I do want to, because last year we had 43 channels originally sign up. One of them felt later on that they just weren't, it wasn't appropriate for them. They were a bigger channel and they just felt like it was better to let the smaller channels have the giveaway. It was Dan's Fish. I'm going to call him out because Dan still donated a bunch of stuff and he backed out at the last minute because he just felt like all of this stuff should be better for smaller channels. So that was very cool of Dan. But we had 43 channels last year with $200 per channel. This year we want to get 100 channels,
Right.
with $250, $300 per channel. So definitely need some Santa Claus. I'd like to have at least 5 Santa Clauses all together, but Mrs. Clauses would be great too. So, and Dee Dee would make a great Mrs. Claus. Or Jess, I just saw her say, does that mean I sucked as Mrs. Claus? Nope. You could be Mrs. Claus as well.
No, I didn't know she did one. I'm sorry.
Well, we did a video together because Jess also does a thing for Christmas, the Secret Santa. So we did and they sort of work together. Like she ends the Secret Santa right when we're starting up the Fish Fam Christmas. So they work together. And so we made a video together about it, and she played Mrs. Santa. So it's definitely happening though this year. My wife was upset with me that I was going to do it again, but I told her I'm not doing it all this year. It's a whole bunch of people going to be involved. There's like 10 of us.
That's how it should be, though.
Well, but last year nobody knew me really. I just saw a need for community stuff, and I just said, Alex from the Secret History said, I hope this guy plays Santa for the Fish Round this year, and I was like, that's a good idea, and I just got it in my head, so I started putting stuff together, and I didn't want a bunch of people on board because I didn't know what I was doing 100%, but it was my responsibility. So this year it's different. I sort of know I have a vision, I have a focus, and I have people that I trust to help me. And I still need a couple more people on the panel, but
when's the sign up going to be for that then?
Pretty soon we're going to make a forum so that channel host like yourself can sign up to have me come up as Santa Claus, or whoever have a Santa Claus come up. But you're one of those people like Jess. You actually have sort of 3 roles to fill because you and Shelby can win stuff. So you can win stuff as a Fish Fam person, but you also have a business, so you can donate.
Yeah, no, I would like to give at least $300 to $500.
And we can when it's people like yourself, we'll make it promotional and really shout out that, hey, TGOE shrimp.com gave us this, and we really push that part of it.
Yeah.
But you also are a channel host, so you've got 3 different roles to fill, that to be involved. I don't want to go too much farther into that, though. This is supposed to be about you. So
no, you're good.
No. So back to
what
was that?
That's just how we met. So you had to talk about it.
And a lot of Brookley Bell said the same thing. That's how she got involved with Fish Fam, and that's what the goal was last year, was to help the community grow. And I saw a lot of people going to all these different streams, but at the same time, I saw a lot of people that only went to 1 stream or 2 streams, and there wasn't really a lot of community with the people in the streams. Maybe the people up on the panels and stuff, all the YouTubers fish tubers knew each other and did stuff together, but the people in the community weren't
Yeah, I
really
get what you're
interacting
saying.
as much. So I was trying to, that's what I'm all about, is community building. I wanted to pull something together that way. Anyways, okay. So back to you. And what would I change about you? That you were closer. That's what I would change. I would change that you moved out of Florida and you were
Oh,
closer. So
I was
I
gonna
could,
say, oh, I can move that up for you a little bit. I was
no,
saving myself some leg room.
no, closer, you know, so that I could actually come over and hang out sometime. But I don't know that I'll ever make it to Florida again in my life. So,
Which is not out of the question. I mean, you get your channel a little bit bigger, and then I go, hey, you want to come speak at our club, and then pay for your trip. You don't have to even come down too long. Just fly in for 2-3 days, and then I
yeah,
take you.
I don't.
My house is 10 minutes away from the club, so
I don't
you just
travel well
gotta.
these days.
What's that?
I don't travel well these days.
Yeah.
That's why I did limit to the Keystone Clash. So, okay, let's get back to this. Let's see. We got the Myrtle question, and then we got Greg Jones. And you said you're still good on time, right? We're not.
Oh yeah, no, we're
Okay.
good.
And it's almost 8 o'clock, and I don't believe that anybody goes now. I don't think Wizzle was going today, so I don't think. I think the next person that goes is Bentley Pasco at 9 o'clock. So we're not going over anybody. Greg Jones wants to know the best way to vacuum an IBC tote.
So if you have your gravel vac lower, the end of the siphon lower than the IBC tote, it's really easy. If you don't, then you're going to have some issues. So you're going to need a pump or something like that to suck the water out. For us, it's really easy because all of our water goes into our pool. So when I start my water changes outside, the day before, I actually have a lever that or a pipe that I just pull down on the system, and it'll drain the pool a good like 6 feet or something like that overnight. And then the next day, I just pull the lever up, and then I start to drain all of my shrimp ponds into the pool. But you could put the IBC totes up on cinder blocks or something like that to get a little bit height. I'm assuming it's a shrimp pond, so try not to overfeed. Throw in some snails or something like that to clean up the substrate. But I don't vacuum or gravel any of my shrimp tanks at all. So to siphon the water from the bottom of my tanks outside, I have a little stainless steel filter guard that goes over the end of the hose so it doesn't suck up any babies.
Gotcha. Dolbeck, hey Dolbeck, he wants to know your best memory scuba diving, and what training does Grant have? And I'm assuming with the scuba diving.
So my best memory scuba diving is actually not scuba diving. It's got to do with scuba diving. It's a lot better. But when I was 12, I got my open water diving, and then 13 advanced, 15 search and rescue. I got cavern certified, underwater photography certified. And that's basically where I stopped. But I was already search and rescue certified, I think, or advanced certified. And we have this spring called Blue Grotto Spring. Beautiful, crystal clear. It goes down to about 100 feet, but at the very bottom, it kind of like goes around a rock and then comes in, and then you can kind of like just swim out. They brought us down. You crack an egg underwater and it all stays at a certain atmosphere. It'll stay together, and then you flick it and it just like a galaxy. You play tic-tac-toe at certain levels, and they show you how the narcosis kicks in, and you're really bad at tic-tac-toe, or one person doesn't have it, and they're like, why does this guy suck at tic-tac-toe all of a sudden? Actually, horrible in English writing or anything like that until college, and I did my college paper on narcosis, and I almost got a perfect score. So I was like, oh man, I just need to write about getting high on the reef, and that's all it took. But the coolest thing about Blue Grotto was at 30 feet they had a decompression chamber. So I would go down there, you take your mask off your regulator, and you can talk underwater to your buddies after you're done diving. You decompress at 30 feet, and then you go to 15 feet for a certain time, and then all the bubbles, the compressed oxygen is out of your system. You can safely go up to the surface without getting the bends. And I knew about this. My middle school takes us there to do a snorkeling trip. And they're giving us this like 15-minute safety speech, safety meeting. And I'm just going, this is ridiculous. I've been to the bottom of this thing. I don't need to sit here. And they gave me fins and a snorkel. And I just dove in the water and swam right during the safety meeting. Swam right into the decompression chamber. And I was like, I know if I just wait a good 30 minutes, everybody above will think I'm dead. And eventually a diver came. Diver gets into the bubble, takes his mask off, and goes, I'm laughing. I got this big grin on I'm laughing. I'm like, finally somebody's calm. What's up, man? Welcome to the party type attitude. The kid's like, the scuba diver's like, hey kid, that's not funny, man. I thought I was coming down here to pull up a dead body. Everybody up there thinks you're dead. And I'm just going, hey man, I'm sorry, but it just wasn't as fun as I thought it was gonna be. And it was more like I wasn't just standing in the chamber, like I was going free diving down as far as I could. Like they probably just saw like random bubbles just kept coming up and was like, what's going on type thing. And like
you've got a sick sense of humor. You do with the shellfish allergy and with that. Yeah, you like to cause people pain and then laugh about it.
Poor Shelby, right? She gets the worst of it. Firecrackers at 4:00 in the morning. I put them in a pan. And I put a strainer over the top so the fireworks wouldn't, make a mess. Poor Shelby thought that our tank rack was falling and each pop was a tank smashing and hitting the floor. She got up and screamed so loud that it like shook me, and I jumped and jerked, and I dropped my phone so it stopped the recording. But yeah, she's gotten the blunt end of some of my
How long ago was that?
Like 6 years probably.
Is she still not forgiving you?
She'll bring it up from time to time. She doesn't like it when I buy firecrackers, but I'm one of those people. If I light off fireworks, I go the whole time just lighting something off. I just throw firecrackers off, but not so much fireworks anymore. And then hold on, there's another Shelby story that's worth telling.
Go ahead.
One day I go, hey Shelby, and I had a water jug, and I was like, you gotta look at the shrimp. I've never seen one like it. And she goes to look into the top of the jug. I smacked that thing as hard as I could. And the water hit her in the eye, like gave her a black eye. My buddy Eddie, if you've ever seen our series of videos where I'm trying to save a shrimp room. By the way, mission success on that one. No failure there. Eddie's got full gun approval to go ahead and do. No videos have come out of all of it, but it will when we have time. But Eddie has like this video where it's Shelby getting hit in the face, and she's like, oh, and it's great, but she won't let me post it. I swear, if I could just post that on the TikTok, I mean, everybody will know who we are.
So you gave her a black eye with that trick. I've seen a lot of people do it.
It was slightly bruised.
Okay. Still. Yeah. You no, never mind. Let's see. Where Crypt Keeper's what? He's a neighbor. Sort of. He's an upstate New Yorker. So he wants to know what the categories for the shrimp contest are. And then there's some more to that too, but I'll let you start with that.
All right. Category 1, Neocaridina. Category 2, crystals. Category 3, Taiwan bees. Category 4, tigers. Category 5 is hybrids. So that's like any of the first 3 that I named crossed together. Or not the first one, but the second group of 3.
Yeah.
And then orange-eyed morphs. So not orange-eyed blue tigers or orange-eyed red tigers, but like the orange-eyed yellow King Kongs and the orange-eyed lapis. There's a lot of different new varieties of eyes. There's silver eyes, there's hollow eyes, there's red eyes, there's orange, yellow. So.
Okay. And then also he wants to know what if we send a buried shrimp and they hatch out in transit? Are we disqualified since there's now more than 5 in the bag or the tank?
No, That's not that's sneaky thinking right there. No one's brought that into attention. No, we do not count those as shrimp that are entered for the contest. You want to send in buried shrimp because they will. I mean, you don't have to, but say you enter 4 pregnant shrimp and 1 male, or 5 pregnant shrimp. You don't have to enter a male anymore. So you can enter in 5 pregnant shrimp, and then another person enters 5 shrimp and they're all females, but they're not pregnant. This group over here will score more points because they're healthier, they're breeding, they're going to be doing a little better. So I don't know how many points health is for every single category off the top of my head, but like let's say it's 30 points. This category is going to get the full 30 points for health because it's pregnant. There's no signs of infection. There's no break in the shell or anything like that. So it will do better if it is pregnant. If there's babies, the judges will realize that the one that had babies is probably the one that's not buried anymore. So you'll still get full points for that.
Let's see. Okay, that was all of it. Okay. Next up is from Scotty. How big is Grant's house and property? He saw Lucas's video and it looks huge. I think he said he has like over 300 tanks.
303 tanks, 40 ponds set up. We have another 24 IBC totes that are not set up. And then only 1,100 square foot house. We don't have double story or basement. So all of those tanks are in the house, and it's a very small house. Our property is like a 1/4 acre lot. It's not very big. So like when I have the whole backyard done with all the IBC totes, I just want enough room for the wheelbarrow to fit between them all. And then I'll be done.
Wow. I saw that too, and I assumed it was bigger too. It's just I guess it's a really open floor plan.
I always get these people like, oh, if I had a house this big, I'm like, Bob, your house is bigger than mine. I've seen it. Like,
yeah. And Whip's World, this is a good question. I like this one. And hi, Whip. Why shrimp? Why not discus, flower horn of any other high-end fish? Is it just the space to tank size ratio? And are you afraid that the shrimp craze will fade away as quick as it came? Well, yeah, why shrimp?
So I've kind of always been around. I've kind of always been around shrimp my whole life. There's this spring, a rock's thrown distance away from our house called Weeki Wachee River and the Weeki Wachee Springs. And my mom would take me there like as soon as we moved here. And I already knew how to swim. My first 3 years when we lived in Hawaii, I lived on a yacht. So my mom was worried that if I went overboard, I was going to drown. So I knew how to swim before I could walk. And so we got to the water park. And yeah, I have fun swimming and going down the slides, but like you could only do that so much while your mom's sitting there getting sun cancer and sun tanning. She doesn't have skin cancer, but like that's all you're doing if you're sitting there that many years in the sun. Mom, you curse yourself, but
I love it. I miss it.
you gotta kill time, you know. You can only play so much volleyball. So I get a net and a bucket and I go into the water and I see what I could catch. And you catch the gambusia, and they're aggressive. They attack all the other fish, so you don't want to catch those. You catch some of the I didn't know it at the time, but they must have been killies, the least fin killies or the blue fins. And then I probably catch some not pygmy sunfish, but some baby sunfish and stuff like that. But it seemed like they would always not do very well in the sun, and you had to constantly go down to the water and replace their water to make sure that they weren't getting lethargic and stuff like that. Because even as a kid, you don't want to see the fish go belly up. So as soon as you start to see them like doing this, you're like, oh, I got to run down to the water and swat the water out and come back. And then I learned like, oh, throw plants and stuff like that. And then I threw plants in, and then one day I found a shrimp. And I realized I had a bucket of shrimp, and they never really went lethargic. You could keep the bucket in the shrimp almost all day. And then I'd find the pregnant ones. I'm like, oh, man, this is so cool. So I was just always catching shrimp. And then also I had a buddy. He had a lake behind him. And every time it rained, the crawfish would be crawling through his yard. In Hawaii, I'd catch fish or shrimp at the docks and then sell them to one of the local fish stores, and then use that money to buy pizza the next day. So I just always been around shrimp, and then the shrimp were on the Craigslist ads, and because of the high reproduction rate, I thought I could create a new type of shrimp a lot faster than I could create a new chameleon. And I know I'm young, but I'm not patient. I'm really not.
I'm with you. It was there good. This is a weird question, but was there good pizza in Hawaii?
I mean, for the time, it was just better than what I was eating at the yacht club, because okay. I did training in like the mornings, and then I did training. Yeah, training in the mornings, and then I taught in the afternoons. So I had to like stay at the yacht club for lunch while my grandpa worked. I just stayed at the yacht club most of the day, and all the yacht club had was like fish, and I don't eat anything with a fin. And bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich was only good so many times. So I would get money and sneak and go get pizza. I don't think my grandpa even knew about it, because I hated asking for money. I got like a certain amount of money that my parents gave me before like I got on the plane. Like even at 12 years old, my grandpa paid for like a stewardess to usher me from one airport to the other, and nobody ever saw me. I was 12 years old, made it through Phoenix to Hawaii, no issues at all. But I had just money in my pocket. I was like, I'm going to go to Cinnabon. Never been there, and I made myself sick of cinnamon. Just eating too much Cinnabon at the airport.
The stewardess should have been watching you from protecting you from Cinnabon.
No, they just never even got me off the first airplane. Like my parents walked me to the first one, and then there was nowhere there to greet me, and I'm like, I've got like an hour and a half to figure out where I'm supposed to go. I might as well get to it in case I couldn't. I got there with plenty of time, and then the only thing right next to my thing was Cinnabon. And I was like, all right, let's do it. I had like a 4-hour layaway or something like that. It was a lot of Cinnabon.
4 hours Cinnabon. Dolbeck wants to know, which do you find worst, a bad algae problem or a computer problem?
Or a computer problem?
Yeah.
Algae problem. I haven't had a computer problem in ages.
Let's see. Oh, and
now if you would have asked 14-year-old Grant, it would have said computer problem all day. But I've kind of given up on video games because I'll never be as good as 14-year-old Grant. So that kid, Call of Duty, nuke after nuke after nuke, top 10 characters in World of Warcraft. I would wake up 4 hours before school and farm, mine, and herb, and then sell that. And I owned half the auction market that they had. So it was.
I still play. I play video games a lot, but nothing online. Nothing. It's all single player stuff.
I can't do it. It's got to be multiplayer, and I got to be the best. Or
yeah, I don't compete. I don't compete in anything. I'm just not that kind of person. I like to watch other people do things really well, but I don't really have a desire myself to be involved in much of anything.
I'm all for doing things for fun.
What's that?
But I love some good, healthy competition.
It's just not me. I'm not. I get it though. I mean, most people are that way, and it's a great way to grow your skills is to compete against other people. I just don't have any desire to, and it's probably because I'm so friggin' old. That's probably why. Verily wants to know what event is in Florida in August.
It's called Animal Expo or something like that. Okay. So the guy from Snake Bites, I can't remember his Brian. Oh man, why can I not remember the last name? But he's got a huge YouTube. They have the reptile zoo or whatever it is. They got tons and tons of animals. If you've seen any of Mr. Beast's videos where they've got the big giant snakes, he's the one that brings them in. Well, he's bringing in like every single YouTuber in the pet industry that has over like 150,000 subs or something like that to be at that event. It's in Orlando in August. I need to figure out more information on it, but I just found out about it when Jason from Primetime Aquatics came to the house.
Oh, gotcha. Where was I at? Oh, here we go. Joe Stan. He says he doesn't have a question, but he says you let Grant know his family and all them shrimp are welcome in Texas.
Oh, nice.
Jeremy Rick says Rico just needs some bubble wrap. Yeah. Scotty wants to know if you said you were certified, but have you done any search and rescue diving?
I haven't. The only thing I'm really good at is if somebody loses something at the river, I'm pretty good at finding it just because I know how to do the little grid search and then block everything off. Even if I'm blindfolded, because like they basically blindfold you in a little square box because in case the visibility was 0, and then you have to find a wedding ring. So yeah, and you're all worried about what you're gonna run your hand into. You never know what's down there. It's Florida. I'm not worried about gators in the spots where they put us, but some of those golf ponds or something like that.
Zen Ginger doesn't have a question, but a comment again. And how is Grant still allowed in the house? And everybody's saying, "Oh my God, poor Shelby." And it jumped on me again. All right, there we go. Let's see. And again, if you have questions, do the at Rico stand for me so it just really pops out. Dolbeck, amazing about the cavern cert. Will he go for full cave certification? I want to get full cave certified one day, but right now I'm focused on getting ice driving certified first because it's cold here.
Now,
Excuse me.
I don't like to be like, oh, the wife won't let me do this or anything like that. But if another cave diver dies, and it's going to happen, like we live next to Eagle's Nest, and it is the Mount Everest of cave diving. Like the more people have died doing that than, and it's on my list of things that I want to do before I die. But it's like, I don't want to die doing that. I don't want that to be how I go out. And I don't even need to go that far in. I only want to go down to see the crawfish. There's a special crawfish that just live in that cave, and they're 170 feet down.
Wow.
So I've been 118 feet down. So it's not like it's that far. But I don't want her to be worried about it. So I would like to get her certified, get her cavern certified, and then say, hey, let's get the permits. Let's just go do it. Let's see if we can find the crayfish, the two of us, without it, making you too uncomfortable. That's all I need to do. That's all I want to do. I don't need to go, because you can go from that cavern through the aquifer, and be under my house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I don't need to do that. I don't need to travel to where no man has ever gone before. I just want to simply see the crawfish, say I dove it, but I don't need to get to the summit.
Yeah. And you want to do it with Shelby. So if you die when you go home, she doesn't kill you.
Or I got to say, hey, I'm going to go scuba diving. And then she has to not ask me where I'm going, because I can't lie to her. I can't be like, oh, I'm going to Eagle's Nest and then not go, or going to a different spring and then go to, I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah.
So. Patrick, have fun. And then I'm like, all right, we're going to Eagle's Nest this time. But you got to get permits. And then, it's not just, hey, I can get my permit, my scuba get certified and then get my gear and go. You have to get a permit just to go dive. It's that serious there.
Gotcha. And is there any do you have to schedule your dive after that? And then is there people that are watching along with you, or people that are on site?
It's just you have to book it. And I think it's that so that way too many people don't book it at the same time.
Yeah.
There is only 2 tables right there for people to set up gear and stuff like that. But last week, two divers just passed away. So it's one of those things where new regulations might come into effect. They might block it off entirely. I don't know, but it's so many people die every year skydiving. So if there's people that are willing to do it, you really can't stop them from, that's their life dream. Except if bank robbing is your life dream. Sorry, we're stopping.
No hurting people. Podrick wants to know if they're going to add mala shrimp in the contest. MALA.
No wild type shrimp. So no Sulu SA shrimp at all. Sorry. It's just there's no work to be done there, so it's not really an artwork. What we're putting on display is a breeder's art.
Dolbeck, another comment. He said, wait. You were raised on a yacht? I must have missed something.
No, just for 3 years we lived on a yacht. My dad was born in New Zealand. I'm first generation U.S. citizen, and they built boats and sailed them from New Zealand to Hawaii to get more money from the rich Americans. So, and my mom was born in Cali, and I was met in the middle.
Let's see.
And it's cheaper to live on a yacht in Hawaii than it is to buy a home.
Okay, here we go. Nano Aquarium Guy wants to know what's your favorite. We didn't really talk about hobbies and stuff because I don't think, to me, it doesn't sound like you have time for other hobbies other than the shrimp and the business and hanging out with the kids. Those sound like your hobbies. Is there any hobbies that you have?
You'd be surprised. I can drive a golf ball 320 yards, but my short game is trash. So I still work on it.
You like to play golf?
Yeah, I mean, I like to get out. So I like nature, and a lot of people don't know, but like golf courses are put on the best places. So some of these golf courses that we go to have the most beautiful streams. And I keep asking for like a little pocket rod or something like that I can like fit, because you get stuck behind like a group of 4 in front of you, and they're all old and they're taking 15 practice swings. And I like to just get up there, grip it, and rip it. I mean, if I'm gonna suck, I'd like to suck fast. So it's just I'm not down to freaking take all that time and then you still shank it into the woods, and then you're like, haha, that's what you get. But there's so many cool things that we get to see on the golf course, not just aquatics, but we have fox squirrels in Florida, and you don't see them running around the suburbs around all the houses. You got to go into the rural country and stuff like that, or onto a golf course. Turkeys, deer, sand cranes, like the wildlife on the golf course is great. So, and then we also play paintball. I haven't played since I broke my ankle. But if it wasn't so hot, I'd be getting out there more. I might go this Sunday if Shelby's feeling up for it, and we can get somewhere for the kids to go. Layla's too small to play paintball, and it's too hot outside, so I don't want to make her wait or sit out there while we have all day. But and then we swim, we go kayaking, we do other things like that. But I bet Shelby on the swim team, and both the kids are now doing swimming, so I kind of like coach them for like an hour and a half every day, and we really enjoy doing that. So
it's in their blood. Kayaking's my thing too. It used to be. I haven't kayaked in a couple of years, but it was always my thing. Always my thing.
We have so many rivers that we just, as much often as we can. Actually, Shelby's birthday's on Thursday, and I'm gonna take her kayaking. So
nice. Do you like whitewater more, or just?
There's no white water where we live. It's all just crystal clear spring water or blackwater river,
Gotcha.
But
yeah, that's what I like too. Whitewater can be fun, but the quiet water is what I like too. So Grant wants
to do it.
Nano, wants to know if you have a favorite genre for movies, TV shows, books. I mean, do you like superhero stuff? Do you like comics? Do you like dramas? Are you true crime? I mean, is there anything that stands out for you?
I mean, my 3 favorite shows are Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, and Dexter, probably. No, take Sons of Anarchy out, replace it with Ozark. So, like, those kind of shows. Shelby's really into the crime stuff. Thea.
Oh.
It's a really bad thunderstorm. So, but he's gonna get jealous. Shelby, I need you to take one of the dogs.
Look at that big boy.
Yeah. Oh. This is the first time they've ever been on the couch. They're not allowed.
Oh, ours go everywhere. Our dogs are allowed to go everywhere. What were their names again?
Internet cable out if I try to push them away. This is a lose-lose battle right now.
One of them is named Shrimp.
Yeah, right? The big one right here. He's a big goofball. It's about to rip the mic out.
And what's the other one's name?
Thea.
Look
I
at him.
understand. You can't even. He can't even hear, but he can feel it.
Yeah.
So we have like a mine. Mine's Lime Rock, buddy. Can you calm down? Can you just for a second? Oh man. And he can feel when they're like setting off the mines for the explosions. He can't hear it, but he definitely knows something's going on, and it makes him just like this. Oh.
That's awesome. I really, I love dogs. I do.
There's now white dog hair all over the mic. I'm sorry if that just blew up into somebody's.
Again, I don't think a house is a home unless it has dogs in it. It just, I will never ever. We've had dogs for so long, and I just, and they've all been pretty long lived. We had a Jack Russell. She was 15 years old. We've had just all different kinds. The pugs and just everything. I love dogs. I just love dogs.
Last year was a rough year for us. We lost 2 of our dogs. We had a pack of 4. Coco passed away of basically old age. And then Pearl, she had a tumor out of nowhere, and there's nothing we could do about it. So it's probably been like the roughest past 365 that I've ever had to deal with. So it's definitely good, though, that Thea, she's like an exact replica of her mom. So like she looks, I don't know if you saw her in Lucas Brett's live stream, but she looks so sad. She looks like somebody beat her. And I've been with her entire life. We had her as a baby, and we have never, ever once laid a finger on that dog. But she looks like the saddest dog.
Yeah.
And she isn't. She's just,
yeah.
She looks like that. She's got the eyelashes and stuff like that has the black around them. So it looks like she's wearing eyeliner. But the only thing is, and she got it from her mom, is she's so scared of thunder. So like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I hear the thunder and bad storm, and I just kind of like to look and make sure I'll unplug the Xbox or something like that if it's a really bad thunderstorm, and then I'll see Thea and I'm like, oh, come on, come into the bedroom, Thea, and I'll spend some time with her and kind of like calm her down and stuff like that. And I think Shelby caught on because she's like, why is Thea following you around all of a sudden? I was like, I don't know, because that's her dog. She does. Oh. When we got Pearl was for her because I already had Coco. But Pearl just, for whatever reason, the dogs just love me so much. So I was like, all right, I won't do anything with Thea, so she loves you more. So we're always in a battle for Thea's attention, where Shrimp will just take it from wherever he can get it from. He's just
poor Shelby.
Big barrel.
Okay. We talked about that. Let's see. I see Kelly Foreman coming in hot. All right, and I'm almost down to the bottom. So Zen Ginger says, my question couldn't be going to a more appropriate person now. Would Grant rather have a shrimp-sized dog or a dog-sized shrimp? Any breeds of either?
I'd have a shrimp-sized dog. If it had the personality of my dogs and it was that small and I didn't have to worry about cleaning up after it, yep, I'd take those.
Man, and Zenny asks that question all the time too. I think I'd go the other route. I think I would like to have a dog-sized shrimp. I think
but it's going to need a huge tank and it's going to eat a lot more than a dog will.
Well, you make it, it's part of the question. You have the ability to put all that stuff there. Eric Wyrock again, and again, there's history with these questions. I absolutely love it.
Can you see the dog hair that I've just been annihilated with? Oh man, it's all over the couch too. Like this is a brand new couch that we got for the live stream. Like, I don't know, Mother's Day time or something like that. They've never been on it. That was the first time, and it's just all dog hair everywhere.
Yeah, ours that looks leather, right? It's leather. We have brown leather, and the dogs have, since day one, they've always been allowed to get up on it. So here's another from Eric Wyrock. He asks this question all the time: what's your favorite sandwich?
Probably a Philly.
Good
We
choice.
have a really good Philly place down here, so probably a Philly. I really like corned beef, so if I can get a good corned beef Reuben, I might take that. But almost everywhere I go, they put on too much sauerkraut, or it's like soaked in dressing, and I
Yeah,
don't know. It's hard to make a good Reuben. So
my son
I had a
does.
good Reuben.
He's a good cook. He cooks for us almost every night. He makes Cubans quite often. He makes Reubens. He makes all different kinds of sandwiches. And he's, except the one time he made us pizza and he was trying something different. And he put pumpkin pie spice when he was making the dough. So the pizza just had a very tiny hint of pumpkin pie. I'm eating it and I'm like, does this taste like pumpkin pie to anybody else? And he just starts laughing. I'm like, what the hell?
So
Don't.
something my mom does is she'll make a carrot cake, and instead of using like oil, I think you use like a cup of oil or something for the recipe of carrot cake. She uses a cup of pumpkin, pumpkin pie stuffing or whatever,
Yeah,
and it makes it so much more moist, and it doesn't really have any pumpkin taste to it, but it's
that sounds
healthier and
delicious.
yeah.
Pie
I
or
meant,
cake? Pie or cake? Which one do you like more?
oh, I'm definitely a pie guy, but no
Right.
apple, peach, or cherry. I can down some sweets. Like I don't look like I'm a big guy, but like I used to be the fat kid in the group. I was 180 pounds and 5'8", and then I just lost all the weight when I stopped taking my meds for asthma. But I uh, I definitely eat sweets. I have a really bad sweet tooth. I've always wanted to be like in a pie eating contest,
Yeah,
and then they asked me to do it at the Florida State Fair, but it was apple, and I was like, I can't. I would have to eat 3 parts of ice cream to apple pie. So in order for me to win, I'd have to eat like 4 times as much food as anybody else.
yeah. Just don't
So
like apple pie. It's just not for you.
I don't like cooked apples or
Oh.
cinnamon. Ever since I've been a cinnamon bun when I was a kid at the airport, I don't like cinnamon anymore. I'm not joking. Like
Okay,
it
yeah,
ruined cinnamon for
that
me.
makes sense. That makes
It
sense.
really did. So, and I'm
Damn Cinnabon.
not a big peach or cherry fan, but blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, rhubarb is probably my favorite pie. If that question was coming.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. My grandma used to make a blueberry pie that was delicious, and she lived outside of Chicago. And when we moved to New York, every year she would drive up from Chicago and bring me a blueberry pie, and we would bake it here. She'd stay with us for a week or two and hang out, and even into her 90s. I think she was 92 when I asked her to stop coming up because she drives like a bat. She drove. She's passed on, but she drove so fast. She drove like a bat out of hell. And I still to this day I miss those blueberry pies. Never had another one like it.
Yeah, no, our family makes some mad desserts, and if you really want to see Shelby's face go, why did you say that? I'll volunteer her to make a pavlova for the Keystone Clash
Okay,
for
all right.
special fish fam to have, but it's probably too much work for her. I wouldn't ever put that on her, but it's a New Zealand dish that my mom would have to make for my dad, and then when my mom and dad moved, I was like, Mom, you have to teach Layla or Shelby how to make the pavlova. And so Shelby not only makes it, but made it her own way. So it doesn't take 3 hours to make. And I don't have to be quiet for 2 hours in the house. Because it was one of those dishes where you slam a door or make too much noise, it goes flat.
Like a souffle or something.
But you put some whipped cream on it with strawberries and kiwis, and it just melts in your mouth, and it tastes like you're eating like little bits of heaven. It's so good.
And if Shelby does, feel like creating some kind of dessert to bring, that would be a very, they do have kitchens in some of the rooms. I don't know if you got one of those real nice rooms, but
it needs a mixing. The sugar has to actually be added to it very slowly over like 30 minutes or something. So you need one of those KitchenAid. I don't think we have room to bring the KitchenAid with us.
Well, I'm not going then. Forget it. I'm done. I'm not going to the Keystone Clash now. You ruined it. Regina says, did Grant pick a doggo Argentinos because they're so great with kids? My friend is from Argentina, and he said that they are known for being very protective of kids.
So I actually had that dog because we bred that dog with one of our well, not bred that dog. That dog was our puppies from the first batch of dogs that we got from Pearl, and then my friend has uh, Spike, or had Spike, and that's where the Dogos Argentinos came in. And out of all the puppies, Shrimp just shared all the traits that the Dogos has: the super long neck, the beefy head, and everything like that. You can tell he's not a pure Dogos. He's definitely got something else mixed in him. But what he's crossed with is what they use to make Dogos Argentinos. So he just has extra bulldog genes into him. So he's not a true Dogos, but my friend's dog was just such a nice dog. We wanted to breed dogs possibly, and we thought, hey, let's do this as a good sample before we spend, $3 to $5 grand on dogs and go through it. And then my only rule was I was only going to find good homes that weren't willing to buy from a shelter and stuff like that. And we had prearranged homes. And then the first group went to cops, and the cops brought them to work. And then their cop buddies were basically, hey, when are you going to have more puppies? When are they going to have more puppies? And we were kind of like on the edge of whether we were going to do it or not. So we decided to do it one last time, and then two and done. But I've decided that we're not going to do dogs unless we have like a big acre. There's just too small in our house to be able to do it. Yeah. So maybe in the future we'll do some type of dog or something like that. I really like big dogs, so I would want acres, and I don't want to run a puppy mill. I want each dog to have its own, each puppy its own big playpen, big source for it to run around and play and have fun until I can find its forever home. And I was wanting to, I did dog training as a kid. We got a Border Collie, and the Border Collie was a super, super hyper. And so we had to go to obedience school. And I went with the dog. I clicker trained four of our dogs, and did the obstacle course with the Border Collie and everything like that. And by the time I got Coco as a puppy, I trained Coco in 2 days, to the point my parents didn't even know I had a dog for 3 weeks until I was like, I need to ask for money for dog food at this point. She's getting too big. I need to let them know I have a dog. So the whole thing was to raise large dogs, train them so that people with families would have a protective dog that wasn't from a shelter, that wasn't a risk with kids, because you only get one set of eyes. And all it takes is bringing that dog home and the kid pulling on the tail, and that sets a trigger or something like that. So if you can take strays and rescues and stuff like that, by all means, go for it. But we found families with small kids for all of our puppies, or else we would have never done it. So, yeah. But because it's so much work and we have so much else going on, I was like, no, let's get Pearl fixed. We don't have to worry about this. And if it comes down the road or something like that, maybe. But I'm all for going to the pound and getting your dog that way.
And earlier when I did say that, I don't think that breeders are bad. Don't get me wrong, because that people did sort of misunderstand what I said, and that I was lumping all breeders together when I did say that. And I don't think breeders are bad. I think there's a lot of very respectable, very people who do it right and breed the healthy dogs. But there's so many strains or whatever of dogs that we shouldn't have today. Pugs are one of them. I love
just that. There's so many people out there, and in Florida's horrible. Every month you find a new person that was chaining hounds and pit bulls to trees.
Oh yeah,
to breed them and stuff like that. So it's
those
people are then selling those dogs to somebody else for profit. And I never wanted to be,
Yeah, there's a big responsibility there. That is a very important life form to man, and they need to be taken care of the right way. And I didn't mean to rant on that. I just a lot of times people misunderstand what I'm saying, and I have nothing like Jess. Jess is a breeder. I have nothing against breeders. It's just when people breed dogs that shouldn't be bred in the first place, and breed them for. It's just like guppies with the tails that are so long that they can barely swim. Their gonopodium is just dangling, and it's huge, and they can't even breed, and that I just think is wrong. If we're breeding things just to make them pretty to us, but it hurts the animal,
How do you
it's
feel about parrotfish?
I don't really know anything about them. I don't have any bigger fish at all. I don't have any cichlids really to speak of other than crebensis. Um,
Because I
so I
think
don't
the
really know
parrotfish
anything
are
about
kind of like the pug. So I got them, and then I found out about it afterwards after doing research. So I kind of just want to breed them for the Breeders' Award program, and then I'm probably not going to keep them anymore because of that reason.
yeah. I think it's we need to be ethical with our breeding. That's all. I
Yeah.
hate to see stuff that's bred to be pretty, but and when we can, like with guppies, you can breed, bring out those colors and stuff, but not to hurt the animal. So Dennis Christensen says, "Where is the Philly steak place? My cousin lives in Spring Hill."
Richie's cheesesteak on Deltona. I think hands down they're the best in town. I haven't had a Philly in legit Philadelphia or anything like that, but I mean I've gone to a couple Philly's places in Florida and Richie's. I mean at first they had like stale bread that was probably like bought at Sam's Club or something like that. But as soon as he stepped up his bread game, I mean everything else, and they make like probably the best pizza in town too.
And Crypt Keeper has one for me. Talking about desserts, head out west to Buffalo, which I try not to go to Buffalo.
I need to go to Buffalo. One of my best friends lives in Buffalo, so I was actually thinking about for the Keystone Clash trying to head there a day early and going to see him in Buffalo.
It's not super far, and I just don't care for the town. But Paula's Donuts, apple fritter, apple fritter. If I do, I will get one. Thanks, Crypt Keeper. Just for shiggles and funsies, a non-food or fish question: would Grant rather have a third nipple or an extra toe?
Third nipple.
Yeah,
I hate feet.
me too.
Like, so
They're
an extra
gross.
toe would just piss me off.
Yeah, you just got it's another toenail to clip. An extra nipple could be fun.
Unless it made me faster in swimming, then maybe I'll take the toe now that I think about it. It'll probably make me a faster swimmer.
And with that, I'm at the bottom of the chat, and we've gone for 2.5 hours, so I think that's a good time to cut. And again, I just wanted to give you another chance, just in case there's anything you forgot. Do you guys have anything you want to promote or anything coming up? We talked about the website and stuff, and I don't know if Ahmad could drop that link for their website, tgoeshrimp.com, the Garden of Eder shrimp.com.
We have a shrimp of the week deal going on right now for Tangerine Tigers. They're $1 off. They're one of the easiest shrimp to keep. If you wanted to keep another type of shrimp in with your Neocardinas that's not going to crossbreed and make mutts, Tangerine Tigers is the go-to shrimp. And then we decided to do two because it's our first time doing it. But I'd like to do something with James. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it or something in the future. And one of the shrimp of the week will be on his stream. The other one will be on ours.
Gotcha.
So
I know what you're talking about. So yeah, because
and,
you are a member of the Fish Room Fever family of channels.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that. I know James has got so much going on, and Ed as well. So I'm not rushing them or anything like that. But like every so often, I'll be like, got an idea. Let's use it. You know what I mean? So
it's going to be fun. That thing is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that coming up in the future.
And then I'm looking forward to Scotty's stream on Saturday, 7:30.
Scotty the Fish Freak, he's in here.
And that's going to be on fish clubs. And I have a couple of really good stories of fish clubs. I almost spoiled it and told you one tonight. I was like, I'm going to save it.
I'm glad you saved it. Yeah. And Scotty wants to know, when is Shelby's focus on? I don't know. We haven't scheduled it yet. And again, there's so many people in the fish family. And I have such a huge list of people. We will definitely, Shelby's on the list, but I don't have it scheduled yet. I couldn't even give you a ballpark time. It could be the end of next month. It could be 6 months from now, which I just don't know. So, I think we covered everything. Again, in 15 minutes, Bentley Pasco goes. You got Dr. Black tonight, and I think that might be about it. So, check those guys out. Grant, thanks so much for hanging out with me for a couple hours.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's been raining for like the last hour, so I couldn't even do the water changes outside if I wanted to. So
I made that happen. That was me. I sent in a request. So
he said
third
the
nipple and
stream
my
is
stream is
7:30.
6:30.
Did I not say 7:30?
You did. You did.
Oh,
You
okay.
didn't pull a Rico.
Oh, I messed it up twice the other night. So
Oh, they said Shelby said that too. I will get that time. I swear you said 7:30.
yeah, and like I thought your stream, I don't know why, was at 7 because I was got everything mixed up, and then I was like, oh man, it's at 6:30.
It's at 7.
I told everybody
Oh.
wrong yesterday.
Oh, it's at 7. I'm 6:30. He's at 7. That's what it is.
Oh my God.
See, I'm a bad influence. I'm a bad influence on you. I get my time.
I will be there on time, Scotty. Don't worry. It's set in my calendar, so my alarm will come up and I will jump on the stream with you.
That's why fishfam.link is so important for our community, is because you can go see that kind of stuff and not have to rely on people like us that don't do well with time. Okay.
Yeah. Scotty's going to have like 13 people come in 30 minutes late and be like, I missed it. Save all the good ones for 7:30. We'll just save the good ones for then. But thank you, man. I really enjoyed this. I was looking forward to it a long time.
I'm glad we had fun. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. And next week we have Jess, Lady Metalhead. She will be with us. And then the following week is Ricky from PB Aquatics will be our guest, another Florida guy. They'll be our guest. So thank you guys for hanging out, and we'll see you in the streams later.